One of my favorite fish in freshwater is walleye, but especially when they're feeding on weed lines and around open water weed beds where I can cast a long crankbait that looks like a perch and fish it around those weeds. One of the reasons I love it so much is because I know that those walleye that are going around the weeds are hunting, and if they sense my crankbait, they're going to hit it. I actually use one particular crankbait that's called a tail dancer because it has a very wide side-to-side lazy wobble and really gets fish to hit it. That lure was only available in the long version, but I've got good news. The Shad Dancer is like a tail dancer, but it has a wider body profile and is a lot shorter. And it's going to be an excellent lure to use later on in the day when the fish are a little bit off the weeds and they don't necessarily want a bigger meal, but they'll fall for a smaller crankbait. One of the key features of this crankbait is that it has an aggressive, sweeping, hard-thumping side-to-side action that really draws fish to strike. It dives to about 7 to 10 feet in depth, which is ideal because most of our weeds in fresh water end at about 10-12 feet. It's 2 inches in length and it's ideal for all sizes of game fish. One of the times that it works best is when the larger game fish stop hitting the larger lures, and that's usually midday where you have nice bluebird skies and flat water. That's the time to change to a smaller crankbait that has that nice sweeping action. Fish the same areas and even a little bit deeper. Whenever I'm fishing a crankbait, large or small, I usually go with the braided line. I find that I can get my maximum castability with the braided line. It allows the lure to run down to its true diving depth, so you get a very good presentation. And because there's no stretch, if you touch a weed, you can tell that it's a weed, not a fish. But if you feel a fish, you get a really good hook set. When you're fishing it, just remember to retrieve it at a consistent speed. What'll happen, that will draw a fish in, it'll move in closer and then strike, and you're gonna have a fight on.